Hello and welcome to Mirror Realm. My name's Nick, known as Wyvern on the Discord servers. This is the 5th episode in our limited play series. We're aiming to release 2 episodes each week until the series is complete, and we're expecting it to be a pretty long run, likely ending up at 20 episodes or more. So if you're enjoying the series and you want to stay up to date, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified when new episodes go live. So with that said, let's get into it. In this episode, we'll be rating the ordinary sites in the Arthurian Legend set. Right, ordinary site. Oh, good, there's not that many. I've got to go to bed soon. Bog.
Fantastic. I really rate this card. I think I rate it higher than everybody else that we play with. Because I always seem to end up with a lot of them. But it's been absolutely incredible for me every single draft that I've ever had it. So I'm going to keep rating it highly.
I mean, the thing with the sites typically, right, is that the floors for nearly every site is going to be really high because you're basically just substituting it probably for a vanilla site. So they're sort of free.
All they're costing you is a draft pick.
Yeah, which can be massively bad because it can result in you having to play one of these really bad cards that you don't want to play.
But generally when you're drafting, you need to sort of keep track of how many spells you have and then because you only need 24, right? And if you're willing to play some of the fringe 23, 24th card players, every site you draft is just more power that you have to try and beat someone that they don't have effectively. Your card quality, your spell quality might go down only very slightly, but you can potentially get 9 and 10 sites and just get so much value out of that it's worth potentially 3 or 4 extra spells over the course of a game, and then all of a sudden I'm playing Sorcerer territory.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm not. Yeah, absolutely not questioning that. I'm just questioning the rating system for this. Not sure it because at the end of the day, the worst case scenario for most of these is really not that bad, right? So I think according to our existing definition, because effectively they're free includes, right? So
yes.
I wonder if the worst. I wonder if what we should say is a 0.
Well, they sort of are and they sort of aren't, right? If they're not on your element that you're playing, they're not free includes, and they probably won't make your deck.
Probably, yeah. That needs to be
well enough to play off color.
Pond I have with an off beast.
Yeah, depending on your deck, but even then, maybe not. But Lookout, maybe.
That's fine. Yeah, all I'm saying is we need to just quickly establish what the rating system is before we rate them.
I agree. I know.
So I think we just conceptualize the worst case scenario as in the bad game. Yeah, we're not. What is a 0 mean, so to speak? I think a 0 would mean that it's never. I think a 0 is never any better than a vanilla site.
Okay, I think there's actually a scenario where 0 is lower than an ordinary site because Leyline Henge is 100% lower than an ordinary site because it doesn't have a threshold, it does nothing, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
And Hamlet is almost in that situation.
Ordinary. Okay. Okay, so why don't we set the bar at 3 then? So 3 is basically it's the same as an ordinary site. Yeah, the ability. The baseline, right? So if we say if it's less than 3, you're very rarely ever going to include this instead of it an ordinary site, right? If the ratings are less than 3, you're thinking about it. We've got to set it somewhere, basically.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're basically saying everything is worst case. It's compared to an ordinary site, Bog just comes out at 999 or 9910 or something, right? But it as a free include, right? So, whereas if the baseline is 3, let's just give it a go. Maybe we need to tweak the system as we go along a bit. Let's just give it a go. So Bog site. It's a different deck at the end of the day, right? And you're not assessing that versus these other cards that we already rated. You're assessing it versus the sites, but also you get the option to include the vanilla sites, whereas with the spells, there's no such option, right? You've got to pick something from what you got. So
Yeah, I think maybe the bad game is when you playing them off color. Maybe is that because realistically they're never bad unless they're off color. Because they're just always all of them that have a threshold are just better than playing the other one.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying. So it's like you're basically saying how much better.
Well,
how much better?
I just don't. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just how much better. That's all. Because
well, it's like they're all always going to be included, right? That have a threshold unless they're off color. So I think maybe that's
not necessarily true.
For it.
That's not what's always going to be included.
That's what I mean, right? So in the situations where that's not so true that you're going to play them off.
So
color,
I've had a situation where I haven't played like a bonfire, for example, even though I'm playing fire because I just had 3 forges and 3 bonfires, and I only want to play 5.
That's wrong, right? Because bonfires are May. You don't have to kill your own lance tokens.
Yeah, but I only wanted to play 5 fire sites though.
Oh, wait. I thought you said you had 3 forges and a bonfire.
No, 3 forges and 3 bonfires.
Oh,
all right. And I only want to play 5 fire sites, and I chose that. I said that I want to play a forge instead of a bonfire. So forge is better than bonfire, I think, or at least it was for my deck, right?
I agree.
So you can still say that forge is better than bonfire, right? And there is a situation where you're not playing these even if you are on element, and there is conceivably a situation where you're playing these even if they're off element, but that just seems incredibly fringe to me.
I think the only situation you are playing them, not playing them on element though, is that exact situation that you just brought up, right? Is where you have more sites than you have that you want to put in your deck. Like just looking at all of the options, that is the only reason, right?
You have more sites than what you want to put in your deck.
Like if you have 6 fire sites, you only want to put 5 in your deck. That is the only situation where you're not just going to be playing them whenever they're on color.
Yeah. Yep. But there's also a deck, especially a 3 or 4 element deck, where again, like you may only want to play 2, and you still ultimately
that's that exact scenario though.
Yeah, exactly. Right? But you're still potentially picking. It is possible to get packs with multiple sites in them as well. We can still definitely say which sites are better than which other sites, despite this constraint. So we can still rate these cards. We just have to work out a system. But we can just start with Bog and then see if that's appropriate to compare everything to that.
Essentially, the element doesn't matter, right? Because the element matters. Like it's the same for spells.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter.
Maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, I suppose. Except where it doesn't have an element, then that's a penalty for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Personally, I think both of the ordinary sites that don't have thresholds are unplayable.
Yeah. You can get to why with the Hamlet. When we
get
there.
Yeah.
So, but Bog, though, because this is one of the better ones for sure. So
I'm trying to work out if I think it's the best. It's definitely between that and Lookout, and Forge is definitely up there with the 3.
Pond is really good as well.
It is, but Pond is more of like the floor is non-existent on this card, right? Whereas if you have no beast, this card is just does nothing, right? Yeah. Whereas, the other ones, they are always going to do at least something. So,
well, Bog isn't always guaranteed to do. It's borderline guaranteed to do. They're not quite late game when it can potentially not do anything.
So you can play your sites in such a way that you'll always be able to Bog one of your own sites to stop it from being attacked for a turn. Just by leaving, the 2 sites next to your avatar open. So it's outside of like when you get to 8, 9, 10 sites, obviously. But that's pretty rare. And just the ability to just completely lock down a site causes so many. I know you've beaten me in drafts where you've just had like one turn with a Bog and it's just completely changed the whole swing of the game, and I've just straight up lost to it.
The floor is really high. The average game is really high. The ceiling is really high. Like that's obvious.
Yeah.
The question basically is, well, do we need to leave open? space for a 10. I'm just checking other stuff now. It's a camo.
So
It feels like that could be a 10 on the upside for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the only one that's... Because all the other uniques aren't that.
The Valton...
Perilous Bridge and Troll Bridge are the other ones that I'd be thinking about that are up there with it. Babbling Brook is right up there too. I think that side's very good.
Yeah. Alright, so let's
give...
give...
Water's got such good sides.
Let's give it a 9.
Yeah.
To leave some breathing space.
I think it's like, what, 8, 8, 9 or something?
Yeah. These are just generally going to be really...
The thing is, the good game could actually be a 10 because of the Hamlets Ablaze.
Yeah.
So it's...
Well, it's the 25th best game. I think that's not going to fall in those. This is what we're saying, right?
I think the fact that they're both ordinary sort of does put it there, but maybe not. Yeah, for argument's sake, 8, 8, 9 is fine. That's fine.
Bonfire.
I
quite like it. You normally get... There's plenty of times you snag a lance with it, which is meaningful.
Yeah, but there's also plenty of times where, unlike with Bog, where you can protect your own sites, you just can't bonfire a lance.
Yep.
And in that scenario, it's obviously pretty awkward. It's also way worse than a Forge because it's like being reactive versus proactive a lot of the time. There's a lot of the times where you don't just jam it and potentially like make your oily mana awkward when you should have just jammed it and eat and just be like, that's fine. But you're like, no, I can get value. I swear I can. I think it's like good, but it's certainly worse than Forge, which is its competition.
What's it, Bonfire? Alright, well, I mean, the 25th worst game it ain't doing, which basically means that it's the same as a vanilla site, and we're saying that's 3, right?
Yeah.
So that's 3. So
and its average game is... If we're saying its average game, it's going to kill a Lance token.
Is that true? In the 50 out of 100 games that you draw, it is actually going to do that?
Yeah. I think you probably only half of your average games you're going to be killing a Lance token with it.
So that's basically 3, or maybe 4.
No, it's more than a 3, right? Because we're saying 3 is the bad game where it never does it, whereas the average game, you're probably doing it in half of your average games. Maybe it's less than half. Maybe it's like 20-30% of your average. So it's probably a 4, right?
Yeah.
But then its best case scenario is obviously killing a Lance and getting a great trade, but that's not 25% of the time.
No, but it could also get Sword and Shield as a weapon, right?
Yeah.
So it can get Sword and Shield.
Is it? I think it is. Just had a moment.
So Excalibur, Falnot Bow, Sword and Shield, Rongmonyad. So it's mostly Sword and Shield that's the relevant one.
Yeah. And most of the time, you're going to be able to play Bonfire in your back row and kill those weapons. So you're going to be able to kill them most of the time if they're in play.
But ultimately, the 25th best game is you getting a Lance token, and if you're lucky, getting some kind of a trade out of it. Like that's all these other stuff is not that game. it's way higher than that. You're probably just getting a Lance token and nothing else with it, which puts it at what, a 6?
Well, it's probably the 5, right? Because all the cases where it's 6 or higher are in that 25%.
Definitely a material upgrade, obviously, over the vanilla side, though. Like, the prospect of getting something. So, Common Village.
Great. This site is so good. Because there's not many 1-drops you want to play in the whole set, and this just lets you curve that out with no cost. It's also... It teams up, like, to take out, like, bigger units in team blocks, it potentially chump blocks to save your good unit.
The amount of Lance tokens floating about makes foot soldiers better as well.
So many chances, like, tokens when this is good.
You can fit it into your even if you don't play it on the first turn, you can quite often fit it into a later turn. Not always, obviously, because sometimes you draw a site because you have like a 6-drop in hand or something, and you want to play it.
Yep.
So in the later game, you don't always get it, basically. But
I also think it's so much better than the other Earth Ordinary site that potentially brings it up in value as well.
I mean,
I don't think it's quite as good as Bog, but I don't think it's like way worse than a Bog.
What is it? Common Village. Site. Says bad game is it? Yeah, okay. So
maybe it's like what 6.
Still 7, have to pay for it. It's clearly not as good as Bog. That's the thing.
Yeah, so I suppose the bad game is when you don't. I mean,
is it 677? Is that where you were going?
Yeah, something like that. I think. But I mean, the bad game. So if the bad game is playing it without getting the dude,
but I don't think it is because that would happen less often than.
Yeah, that was where I was going with it. I think that is the case, but that was just my.
So you always basically get a dude that ultimately is just a dude. That's the thing. At the end of the day, it's still just a 1-power dude that, But there's ways to get value out of him, is what we're describing.
Yeah.
In combination with stuff. So, Forge.
I think it's really good. This is like one of the top 3 ordinaries, like in that, argument of Forge, Bog, Lookout, which one's the best. The fact that it costs a mana and the positioning of the lance can be a bit awkward sometimes, I think brings it down below the other 2, like, big dogs. But not by such a significant margin that it's, like, bad by any belief. Like, it's sort of its best use is when you play it and then play a minion that costs, like, 1 less than your max mana and just pick it up straight away. It sort of feels like a good use, but then there's the turns where you play it and move it with another minion and then get like a good trade that way, turning your other minion into like a pseudo squire. But no, hang on, you can't even do that really because you can do it with charge minions. That's about it.
And the other awkward thing is quite often, especially when you're on the play, that when you do that play you're describing, they don't have a side adjacent to it, and then they just don't play one there.
Yeah.
So that play in particular is more likely to happen if you're on the draw.
Yeah. So it is a little bit awkward, but it is pretty powerful. So sometimes you just got to give up a bit of the smoothness for a bit of raw power.
Yeah, I mean, is it like 6, 7, 9 or something?
Maybe it's
the worst case even lower. Yeah, it's certainly lower than Village.
Yeah, I think it's like
because there's all sorts of awkward game states where there's like you can't even create it even if you have the mana because they can just pick it up before you. So
yeah.
Whereas
there's plenty of awkward times.
Whereas it's never going to be awkward to just generate a foot soldier if you have the spare mana for it. Pretty much. So yeah, I think that's fine. Hamlet.
So there's very fringe scenarios where this is playable, but I think mostly because the fact that you don't get a threshold out of it, so it makes your draws really awkward. And then even if you have like majority ordinary minions in your deck, they've all got, outside of like the families, they've all got such awkward threshold costs with all your doubles and stuff like that on all the really good cards that most of the time you're not getting the good cost reduction anyway, and you can't like chain out a bunch of stuff to get heaps of extra value. And on top of that, it forces you to play all of your minions to the same site. So you basically have to go one in your front line and then just fill up your back line with your sites so that you can sort of tunnel all of the action into one spot on the board. And generally that's not like great. And it's very bad if they have any like sweeper style cards like Lava Flow or heaps of different things that can really blow you out. So in general, but the biggest reason for me is that it's got no threshold.
Yeah. And the no threshold combined with all the better ordinary minions basically having double thresholds, pretty much. Or that one, like, for the Fox or the Robin or whatever, you just don't really care about that. Like, one cost reduction just isn't relevant.
Yeah, because you can't play that site on turn 1 and play those guys anyway and get them for free.
But if you look at Hamlet...
just doesn't do enough.
You're basically saying it's a bad game 0, and...
Well, yeah, the bad game for it is that having no threshold completely destroys your whole early game.
Yeah. The bad game is it loses you the game.
Yeah.
And the average game...
And that's probably its average game as well, is probably the similar situation.
I mean, it's just worse,
Maybe
right?
not.
Yeah, I think it's... Obviously, you're saying...
I mean, it's good game is like you drafted a deck with all family, and you just, like, went ham with it on turn 2 and then started attacking for 6 and 8 on, like, turn 3, right?
Yep.
But that's, like, whatever. I don't think you're going to do that.
But that's not the 25th out of 100 either. That's the thing.
No, not at all.
Is it something like this? Or maybe 4?
I wouldn't go up from 3. I think its good game is, like... Yeah, I would have been, like, arguing it to go down, but I'm fine with 0, 2, 3.
I mean, obviously in the case that this is through the lens again of it's just the first card in the draft, right? Like, it's if you or a card just rawly valued. Clearly, like, there is some specific decks where maybe it could be played, like you're saying, but probably not. You're probably not playing it. Hunter's Lodge.
So I think this one, if you have it, you're always just going to include it, right? Because it's free and it does something more than nothing, and it's the whole realm. So it's like it's easy. Like, you're never going to miss with it.
It's one of the answers to Fox as well. It's one of the ways to kill Fox.
But yeah, there's not that much stealth, right?
Oh, you can even see all the foxes hanging up there. Did you notice that before?
No, did not. Yeah, so basically it's your answer for Fox when you're not playing Fire, and because it's Earth, you don't have many answers to Fox, so it gives you an out to that. Outside of that, it's like Band of Thieves is the other stealth guy, Swindler Troop, at Ordinary, they're the only other stealths, and then, like, you start getting into elite and unique territories for most of the other stuff. So it's certainly playable, it's certainly solid. It's nowhere near as consistent as Common Village. But when it's good, it potentially can pull you out of games that you would have lost.
Yeah.
Is that 25% of games?
I mean, clearly the bottom 20 is 3, right? It's the same.
Yeah. Yeah, because you play it and it does nothing.
And then basically, like, its good game is really high. Like, you're talking about... Like, it's really high. It's got a, like... It's like 9 or something,
like,
right?
Yeah, maybe an 8. Because it's most of that 25% mark, right? Like, it's not like it's going to be an 8, like a 9, 25% of games you play it.
And then the question is, do you snag something? Maybe. There's quite a bit of stealth stuff in the set, to be fair. You're saying there isn't much, but there is quite a bit. Like...
Is there? I don't know. It doesn't really feel like there's heaps when I think about it. I mean, there's Treetop Hideout, which gets around it, but maybe there's more than I think.
So Agravain, Band of Thieves, which is ordinary.
Unique.
Kingswood Poachers, which is exceptional. Morgana, unique.
Oh, they do have stealth.
Questing Beast, which is unique. So
so not much.
No, they lose. Fox. Say not much, but there's like...
There's 3 ordinaries.
Yeah. Well, there's only... Okay, so there's only 55 ordinaries in the set, so like 6% of all of the ordinaries in the set. Let's have a look at how many minions there are.
But you don't have to remove the stealth from Band of Thieves either. You don't care that much about it unless you're on death's door.
Okay, so 10% of all of the ordinary minions have stealth. Because there's only 30... There's 31, right? And 3 of them have stealth. So it's not... There's way more stealth stuff when you play games and it's in limited than what there is in beta.
Yeah, I'm not saying there isn't, but it's also like, okay, so you've got a site that does something 10% of the time. So that's...
Not 10% of the time. That's, no, I mean, they could have more than 1 minion. There can be more than 1 minion in play. But yeah.
But you can also play against someone who's not playing any, because they're not playing water or air.
It can be, yeah. That's probably the average one is 3. I don't know if we're going to bump it up. Like, the average bonfire one is probably 3. Maybe they get a bonus point, because you're saying, like, 20% of the average games you hit something with it.
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, like, but there's also the fact that you don't care that much about hitting the Band of Thieves. You care about hitting the Fox, absolutely. You potentially care about hitting the thing that the Swindler Troop hit, or the Treetop Hideout hit. So
yeah, you absolutely care about.
That's where I'm trying to like go with the top.
You care about getting the Agravain if they have it. It's a very problematic card. It can be.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the big hits for it, surely. But that's also you don't play against Agravain in 25% of your games either.
Nope. Yeah, so I mean, it's just is it. Yeah, so maybe I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's not. Is it 7 then? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe. Oh, you were just trying to say a 9 at first, so I'm like, well, it's definitely not coming up as much as the other cards.
Yeah.
But when it is like when it's really good, right? But that's not 25% of games.
Is it Henge? Was it it's Henge, right?
Yeah.
Leland Henge, right. So I've asked, if you're playing a mono-element deck, how many of these would you have to have drafted before you would play them? Is the answer 6? or you still couldn't do it? Would you still not do it anyway?
I don't know.
Because they have to be adjacent. It's like...
Maybe it's 5, right? Because... So basically... You play one on your starting location. You play one to the right. You play one in front of it. And then you play one to like the right back corner.
Yeah, so you're drawing one card each time.
Then you play one to your left.
You can never draw more than one, practically speaking, right?
And, I don't know. Tanking your thresholds and removing the option of playing, like, splashing other things is... Like, because splashing things is probably better than playing a mono element.
Probably. It'd have to be the weirdest draw. Like...
Yeah.
I've never seen the draft where you could even play mono element. Well, where you would want to, ever, so...
So to me, for mono element, I think the only element that wants to do it is potentially Earth, and that's because you got a couple of the pigs, like the 5-drop pig that's triple, you got a Reader, you got like Squeakers and Sounders and stuff like that, and you're like, alright, I can do it, mono Earth. But everything else is like, I'd rather just splash Trolls.
But basically, the 25th best game or whatever, this is 0, right, at this point. Like, this is 0-0-0, right? Like,
yeah, it's just utter trash.
Like, I think it's just... I honestly think we could do drafts every evening for every day for the rest of our lives, and it's possible that we would never play it.
I think if we did a draft and we gave everybody 12 of these every draft, no one would play them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really... Yeah. I feel like this originally said... nearby and just got a nerf at the last minute, and at nearby it's still not great, but it could work, and I think it just got a last minute nerf, surely, because the card is just so bad. Like,
inconceivably bad,
and somehow even worse in constructed.
Yep,
pretty much
because the bigger site Atlas decks.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're probably not going to draw multiples of them each game.
Well, yeah, and you can only play 4 of them, whereas in draft you could play 6 if you drafted them, right? So it's like you could literally, like I'm saying,
I reckon if you set your mind to it, you could draft 12.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And then just play a deck of just the rocks because you've got no thresholds. But yeah, so
look out!
Absolutely fantastic.
So this has got a really high floor, pretty much. Floor. The 25th worst game is really good because the information is really good.
Yeah, I think even if you expanded that onto like the bottom 5% games, it would still have a really high floor.
Yeah. I mean, the only time where realistically it's not really good is when
if they don't have a hand.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah, which is not going to be. It's going to be a small percentage of games, right?
It's definitely less than 25.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, even if you draw it late, there's a good chance they've been tapping and drawing sites, and just confirming that those sites aren't going to blow you out in some other way is still got value and still matters. So even in those scenarios, it's still good. Is it as good as Og on like the top end? Probably.
It's very good. It's definitely one that, I don't know, it's weird. This card is just not rated at all, by the way. Like,
so this card, like, I remember when we first started drafting, and it used to come around pretty late. It does not do that anymore.
But we played in Constructed even. We played in Constructed, right? Like, literally the deck that's won the last two online, like you won the, what's it called? The
League Championship.
The League Championship for the last major annual League Championship. You won it. I won the last season with it. It's like a key card in the deck. And all you really get is a whole bunch of people questioning why it's in there and then copying your deck and taking it out, basically. And the reason why it's in is because, well, a whole bunch of reasons.
I've managed to convince some other people to start playing it in other decks as well now. That's how strong it is. But yeah.
But a big reason is just that it's really good. Like, the information that you get is really useful, and it's really useful in Limited. It's information at the end of the day, which is something that information is more powerful the better you are at the game as well, right? So it's a card that is, the better you are at the game, the better the card is, pretty much. So
I mean, it effectively does nothing if you don't know how to leverage the information.
Yeah. So I think,
but as soon as you do, the value goes through the roof.
Yep. Look out. So
Bog was what, 889? I think so. Man, it's hard. It feels hard to rank it lower than a 999. But yeah, maybe it's what, like 789 as well, because there's the games where you draw it late and you get like information that's not like as important, but it's still very important.
It's weird because it's like information is still information always, right? So even if you know that they have nothing useful, that can help. Like, quite often the information still counts for something.
Maybe the top end's a 10.
I think so. Well, the top end, it just, I mean, especially when you're looking at it through, well, okay.
Because ultimately you're saying for like potential uniques and other things, right? And we just went through them all, and the only one that's going to compete for a 10 out of the other sites is Fields of Camland, probably.
Yeah.
It's probably as good as that in a lot of games.
Yeah, but at the moment we're just saying the 25th best game. What does it look like? Is it better than a Bog? That's the question.
I don't know, maybe.
Because the games where it truly, feels very similar anyway. The bad game isn't 10. It's not 10, 10, 10. That's for sure.
No, it's not 10, 10, 10. I think the bad game is probably a 7 because you're only seeing like one spell or something, and that might happen in 25% of the bottom games. Do you reckon? Or maybe you're seeing 2 spells and maybe it goes up.
Yeah.
But
that 25th worst game, the Bog feels probably... Yeah.
So I think the interesting thing about the bad game that we could consider for this site is how often are we willing to play it as a non-threshold site? And I think the answer is always yes.
How willing are you to play a Lookout if you don't have
anything air in your deck? I think it's probably always yes, right?
I don't know. It's going to depend on your deck.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're like heavy 3-element with like doubles all over the place, you don't do it.
As soon as you're 3-element, you don't do it. If one of those 3 elements is an air. Like, if you don't have that luxury, that's for sure. But maybe you can with 2-element. I don't know. I mean, honestly, that one's pretty close. It's going to matter. It's going to matter on a lot of stuff. I think you potentially... I don't know. Yeah. It's weird because we're basically, like... I don't know. The ratings are a bit Because clearly, for example, the bog doesn't really do as much as a brown bears. I don't think in a good game.
I mean, it can't solo run the whole game, but it's consistent enough on its top end that it's always going to be enough to like swing a game to a completely winning state, though. So, but I think realistically we're not comparing the sights to the spells.
No,
I don't think
we're not. But it feels very. I mean, I feel like we should rescale this a bit to like this should be 668. Sorry, 778. The bog, and we can scale everything to that.
Village.
So I think if this is 778, and then this one here can be. I think this ends up at 9, right? Is it 779?
I think the average game is at least an 8. I think the average game is closer to the good games, I think. And then what? Bring up village, bring all the villages down by 1.
Because is this now 566? And
bring the forge down by 1s. Because we were comparing them to bog realistically.
Hamlet can probably just stay as that. Hunter's Lodge
probably comes down to a maybe it's still okay as a 7. Because when it is good, it is good.
Yeah, I think this looks better. This just scales a bit better in
maybe
regards
the Leyline Hand has to go down to minus numbers.
Maybe. All right. I think just to have it. I know what you're saying. We're not comparing apples and apples here, but it's still good if the overall scale has some kind of parity, right? And that all of this stuff just isn't multiple points higher on average. Treetop. No, skipping one.
We skip Pond.
Pond.
So Pond is one of those cards that the floor is 3 because it's just an ordinary site, but the top end is great, and I think the top end happens enough of games that it's not like a 5-10%. I think it is like a 25% thing if you draft it around it, basically. So, and then the average is probably like maybe you drafted around it, but you only got like 2 or 3 beasts, and then it's just average as opposed to like not quite like just a basic site, but a little bit higher sort of thing. But it is probably like as good or better than a bog when you ramp out a brown bears on turn 3.
Yeah, I mean it's just a 9, right? Probably better if that happens. Yeah.
But I think the average, obviously the floor is way lower and the average is way lower. I think as well.
Yeah, I mean, is it just 349?
Probably like a 6. Maybe it's a 5. I think 359 is probably.
I mean, you're basically just saying it doesn't do anything, right? Does it?
Yeah, but if so if the average 50, like middle 50 of games is you draft like 3 or 4 beasts and you're playing it in that deck, you're probably half of the time you're playing a beast with it. So that probably brings it up to a 5, right? Maybe. Not sure either way, but
not sure.
4 feels a bit like it's not worse than a 4. If you ever get something out, it's not worse than a 4.
No, it's not. But my debate would be if you not debate. The point is like if you play 100 games in the 50th best game, did you get anything out or not?
Yeah.
And the answer is not clear, basically, right? Depends on the deck. So, in the deck where it's either a 3, maybe it's a 6, or whatever, and then in the end we're just saying, like, either they've got like a low chance or a reasonable chance or whatever, so you're ending up in the middle somewhere, right? But in the good game, you basically, where you power something out with it. And importantly, if you have enough beasts and it just because there's only 12 sites, before you even mulligan, you've got a 25% chance of it being in the starting hand. Yeah. Limited, so.
And quite often you've got until like turn 3 or 4 to even play it before you want to ramp out a beast as well. So it's also not even just that it's ramp, it's fixing as well is very important.
Yeah. Yep. Treetop Hideout.
Treetop Village. That'd be good. hideout. I don't know. It's no lookout, but it's still pretty good. It's also like not as hard to pull off as a swindler troop, but it's also you can never like give stealth to the minion like on curve effectively. So like if you're playing a 5-drop, you can't give it to your 5-drop the turn you play it. So it's always a little bit awkward in that sense. But there's plenty of times where just same with swindler troop. Like you give a unit stealth that shouldn't have stealth, and it makes the game revolve around it really awkwardly. Like a Robin with stealth is a nightmare, even at just the common slot. But then you start getting into the Sirs and all those sort of things, and it gets real tricky real quick. I think it's pretty rare that you play it without giving something stealth. But it can happen if you're just like trying to hit your curve. So it's probably 4, right? Because I think so. Bad game is probably more often than not you're not just jamming it for nothing.
Yeah, again, you have that. You just have that. Like, there's also. I mean, I know for a fact that I've played games with it and seen games with it where nothing got stealth as a result of it, but they're not. Most of the time, something does. It may not be something very impactful, but normally, at least something. And normally, you get at least something out of it. So I think 4 is not unreasonable.
Yep.
And
the average game, it's probably just giving stealth to a random dude. So it's probably like 5.
Probably.
And then it's definitely not like as good as Pond or Lookout when it's like in the GG states, because you'd also need like elite or unique rarity guys to get like the most value out of it. So it's probably not happening in the 25% of games.
Probably not.
So it's probably more
7?
like a 7.
Yeah, all right. That's what I would have said. You're just saying like it's either a random decent dude or maybe a good dude and some kind of mix of that, right? Like
yeah, exactly. But it's like one of those cards that has a caveat of being like in the top 5% of games. It's like real juicy sort of thing.
Yep. Cool. So locking them in. Final ratings.
Yeah. All right.
So the idea is
3-hour video.
We're not doing the exceptional. Sorry. We'll be here forever. Yeah. So the idea is from here we'll look at some sealed pools, build the decks.
I mean, technically, there's only 27 exceptionals, so we could potentially do it at the start of another video or something, if you felt like it. I was having a quick look. See, oh no, that's minions only.
Yeah,
there is 55. Whoops.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I would just suggest that we only rate the exceptionals that are in the sealed pool, basically, so we can just tie it into that. And we'll see how we go for time, but hopefully we'll get to do at least 2 sealed pools. I imagine probably it will only be 2, knowing us. We'll have to limit our discussion to only like 2.5 hours per seal pool or something. But yeah, so we will. But when we build in the decks, we'll basically just say, I'll just put some tabs in this spreadsheet. We'll copy the cards across, and we'll just say, look, these are the base numbers. But we built this deck, and because this is all the thinking and how the numbers are modified, type of thing. And then maybe we could look at potentially build a couple different ways with the seal pool, and then sort of say we went this way because we think it's better. This is another option you could have gone, but it wasn't as good. It was still a good option, but not as good. And then we could sort of look at the numbers and see if what the numbers tell us, sort of thing. Yep. See how we get to. So, and then we'll do a draft, and then we can sort of do that same exercise, but we can also tie in extra stuff that's relevant to the actual drafting process as well. In the third episode,
are you going to do the sealed pools with like actual packs that you've cracked, or are you just going to be like generated ones online?
Don't know,
because I think they're both very different. Because I think the ones online aren't generated with the print runs, right? And the print runs for the draft matter quite a bit for how to draft.
Yep. Don't know the answer to that.
Potentially, we could bring in like your recording stuff, and we can like record a draft when we do it next, and then just review that one on here as well. That's potentially another way.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think it would be good to. I mean, the thing is, it doesn't. Yeah, I get all of that, but to some degree, it matters from a competitive standpoint, but I'm not sure it matters from a conceptual standpoint, right? Because we're not really trying to prescribe necessarily. Like, it's not. I think it's more just about how to think about stuff, right, and how to conceptualize stuff. So I'm not sure it matters that much, and it totally matters if you want to practice to win anything, right? But this is just really
that's what
the point of this really is not to tell, is to sort of to arm people with information about how to better think about stuff themselves, right? Like how to get better at the game, how to like the types of things you should be thinking about. Like you can have a different opinion. Like we're rating these cards according to our opinion, according to what we think, and we're conveying that information. Like it's not like this is authoritative, all of these numbers, right? Like clearly, even us, we're pretty loose on it. Everyone else could have their own opinion. It's just this is what you should be thinking about. That's all we're saying.
It's also very clear that we had like different opinions on like, you know, a bunch of cards as well, like within a few points either way as well, right? So it's not like even we think the same way about each card.
But the benefit of doing it online, with assuming the website where you do it is sort of down half the time, so we'll see what happens. But the benefit of doing it online is that we can just share. I can share the screen, and we can. It's more, especially the draft itself will be easy because we can actually talk about the picks as we're doing them, if that makes sense, before they're made. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it'd be a bit cleaner for the draft in particular. And for the sealed, what we could do is we could just generate some different sealed pools till we get one that like is not clear cut on purpose, right? Like we wait till it's like all the good cards are split all over the place, all the elements are awkward. Like we'll just generate a bunch of sealed pools till we get a super awkward one, and then we'll
my last sealed that we did, I had that exact thing. That's what took me forever to build my deck because I had like a bunch of different decks that I could have made. So that one probably would have made a good one to actually just like record down and actually just generate it in like TTS or something.
Yeah, okay. Did you? I guess you don't. You didn't pull the cards aside.
Nah.
Okay. Well, we'll see how we go.
They didn't even come home.
Not sure exactly, but we'll do something. But yeah, I'm not sure about the exact sort of common runs or what. Like I know what you're saying, and it certainly matters, but it's not. I don't know if it matters for the point of this exercise. If you know what I mean. So
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and then in the 4th episode, we'll do some limited play. We'll probably just some of the decks we built. We'll just play them against each other probably, and then we'll just talk about. We'll do that open hand thing, and we'll just talk about what we think we should do for each play, and we just talk the whole thing through. Basically, how we play every game. We'll just do that. No change.
Yep.
And we'll just play some games, and then we'll just cherry.
Nobody's actually seen how we play a game yet, so that could be
no. So we can just do that, and I imagine we'll just play 4 or 5 different combinations, and then we'll just cherry pick out the couple most interesting ones and put them in the video, type of thing. Something like that.
Yep.
Could be a bit dynamic about it, but man, this is a long series. This one's nearly 5 hours, and if every episode is nearly 5 hours, that is long.
I think we can speed it up by quite a bit, right? Because we've fleshed out most of our thinking about ordinaries, and that's probably going to be a big part of each one. So we don't need to go back over that.
No, but if we do rate all the cards in the seal pool that are exceptional, elite, and unique, that is going to add.
That's what I was about to say, right? Like maybe it needs to be a 5-part, and we like throw in like thinking an exceptional video or something. But
we'll see. I mean, it might be okay if we just do 2 seal pools. We'll wait till they're interesting. Do 2.5 hours for each one with rating the cards, especially now that we've effectively set the framework. Because I'm sure if we went back over this video, like the air cards were rated way faster than the earth ones. We got faster because the framework had been set, basically, right? So we're kind of working out the framework as we went along. So I think definitely we should be able to fit a couple seal pools within a 5-hour video for sure. And we probably would get at least a couple drafts in, I imagine, another 5-hour video. So I think that is fine, right? And then we should be able to get like 3.
Honestly,
maybe.
I could see us taking 5 hours to do one draft.
Probably. Well, we'll see. Maybe it's just one seal pool and one draft. All right, we're going to cap it to 5 hours per episode. So this series has got a hard cap. It's not going to go for more than 20 hours. It's not 100%. So that promise is not 100% guaranteed, though. Maybe it will be more than 20 hours.
Bonus content.
Yeah, we'll have to do a supplemental episode at the end or something. But yeah, and this is weird, right? Nearly 5 hours, and it felt super rushed for how we normally talk about stuff. It really felt like, come on, we got to move. We know we got to move. We'll never get there, but man, we would. Yeah. Very fast moving.
And that was only talking about 55 cards? Or was it more? 56.
56. Yeah, that's like 56 cards, right? And that's not long. That's like, if it was 5 hours, right? Which it wasn't. Well, we had a bit of preface and stuff, so it's like maybe 4.5 hours? Not even. 56 cards.
So like it would be 5.5 minutes a card or something.
Not even less than
if you take out the preambles and stuff, it's like 5 minutes a card roughly.
Yeah, roughly. Yep. That's not, man. When was the last time we only talked about a card for 5 minutes? This would be like the first time.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there was definitely some cards that were shorter than 5, and others that were 15. But yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the charge card was probably. Pretty easy, but then you get cards that are a little bit more controversial. Shelly Coat was probably the big one.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure Lookout might be a bit controversial as well. We'll see. I
think anyone who's watched oh no, that didn't come out.
Well, what's that? The 10 hour.
I was about to say the Archmage video, but that didn't come out.
It's not out yet.
Did we talk about it a bunch in the other one? I can't remember.
About what, sorry?
Lookout.
Yeah. We talk about it for over half an hour, I believe. Or okay. Something like that, 20 minutes, something like that. We talk about it a lot. Yeah.
We like it.
It gets a big discussion, but not. Yeah. It's on the bigger, like the end of the spectrum of more discussion than less discussion in regards to the deck, for sure. We talk about it quite a bit, but anyways. All right, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, I think that's everything. With the caveat that you need to go to bed.
Yep, I do indeed. Just
like an hour and a half ago.
Quickly not review, but just showing on the screen to wrap it up. Just the ratings.
I assume you're going to have this pinned in the comment or something, or in the description.
I might do, yeah. I might create a Google. I'll try and work it out. I'll create a shared Google sheet somehow that I'll do something anyway. I'm not sure what, but I'll put a link to something. You're right. Yep. Let's just go average, and I'll just put equals average. Can't be bothered doing any more than this. All right, so let's just do that. I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to put an index on the side here so I can unsort them after. Because just that doesn't matter. It's just index, and then let's just rate the cards. Data sort sheet, sort range. As a header row, let's sort it by the average.
Who would have thought? Brown Bears is at the top.
Brown Bears is the best. I guess we should exclude the sites from... Do them separate. So we're basically... okay, so the sites, we'll start with the sites. So we're saying it's... Lookout is the best, then Bog, then Village and Pond Tide, then Forge and Treetop Hideout Tide, then Hunter's Lodge, then Bonfire, and then these two are trash, basically.
Yeah, so I suppose the only interesting thing there is I had Forge in my top 3 sites at first, but when we actually thought and talked about it a bit more, probably that little bit awkward to push it out, so it's fine.
Yep, I mean, as you can see though, 3rd through to...
Yeah, not by much, right?
3rd through to 6 is super... It's these are just the clear the best 2, and then...
Yeah, then everything else.
And then if we say everything else, Brown Bears is the best, then Sly Fox, then Leprechaun, and Robin and Shellycoat all tied.
Yeah.
Anything feel bad about that to you? And then we're saying Burning Hands, Ruffians, Vikings, Swindle Troop, and Magic Missiles all tied.
Yeah. So I think that top 5 is roughly what I would have thought would be the top 5 cards from just like thinking about like, you know, at a gut reaction. I'm like, that's surely top 5 card in the set sort of thing. So.
And then the Lumbering Giant, and then the Afank, Arc Lightning, Band of Thieves, and then Huntress. And then all of a sudden...
It feels weird that there's so much air that high up when we feel like air is probably the weakest element.
Yeah, maybe. You say that high up, but it's all, like, not... Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no, like, standout card, but there's a lot of, like... What's that, top 17? Top 15-ish, top 16-ish cards have got, like, a lot... Whereas, like, Earth has got two at the top... 2 in the top 3 and then nothing, right?
Yeah.
Because the next best Earth card is out of trash outside. I suppose, like, the family isn't really Earth, right? So
yeah,
that even shouldn't be there. So it's Jewel down at 29.
Yeah.
Which is also not a consistent card. It's like 3, 4, 8. So
no, and then this is the bar here, really. These 5.33s, these are the ones that we're kind of not too unhappy if they end up in the deck, basically, right? But once you're talking below, you're really talking about we've carefully picked cards that have actual good synergy. They're getting boosted value from synergy, right? We're not including a Jewel or a Joust unless you've got a bunch of fatties to do something with it. So these are the cards. Even then, these ones here, you're okay with including them, but you would way rather be playing stuff that's above, right? The 6.3. Like the Huntress and above.
The families belong there, though, realistically. Because they're pretty rare you cut them. I have done it, but the deck was, like, out of control. But, yeah, so they're pretty rarely cut, but they can be cut, so, yeah.
Yep.
But otherwise, I agree with everything you said.
All right. Yeah, then I'll just, I'm not sure. We'll pin something. I'll work it out. Yeah, I'll work out something and we'll pin it. So,
man, looking at this thing without the context of the video, I think people will be like, "What the hell is this list?"
Ignore that. Yeah, the index might be hidden. Ignore that one. But yeah, I think it's just honestly, Brown Bears is the best. Is the best ordinary by miles.
I think so.
And this just shows it pretty much. Say by miles, but by margin. Let's say by margin. And I don't think, and even then the Fox was saying is second best, but it's still like, it's only 1 point higher than these three. Right? These are all pretty close still. But I think the Shellycoat will be controversial. The most controversial thing, probably. I'm also there'll be probably some advocates for some of this sort of stuff that we're talking about, where it's like, tactical move and stuff, because they play this this game we're talking about, right? This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 100 games where it does something amazing. All the focus will be on those games and not on the 50 games where it literally did nothing. But as we're saying, it's just we focus on the cards that have high values here, typically. Obviously, you want high everywhere, but we're generally reluctant to play anything that's really low in this bad game column. So, alright. Thanks for the chat. But I do need to get to bed. It's nearly 2 a.m. Jeez.
Yeah, you got to be up in a few hours.
Yeah, I got to get up, exactly. So
unlucky.
Yep, somewhat. All right, it was a pleasure as always.
Good night.
Good night, and
bye to everybody.
Goodbye to everybody, and leave the comments. They help the algorithm. Ideally, subscribe and like and all that jazz. But it feels a bit. I don't really like saying it, but at the end of the day, that stuff matters a lot for the algorithm, so probably we should start saying it somehow. Fit it in somewhere.
Yeah,
but
it definitely cringes me out pretty hard. I hate it when people do it, but yeah, I know why they do it, because it works.
Yeah, I mean, but it genuinely, I mean, yeah, I can see the stats and stuff for the video. Like, it's having extra subscribers helps, and also, and again, this is a bit of a cringy thing that people say, but it actually is the case for our channel that way over half of the watch time is from people that haven't subscribed as well. It's like 60-something%. So
yeah, okay.
we've got people sitting there watching, 15 hours of videos and didn't subscribe off the back of it. Like, and there's a lot of people in that bucket. So it's probably just because I don't know. Maybe it's because we're not saying it. Maybe, I don't know. I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but
maybe it's because we were putting out like one video every 8 months.
That might be. Well,
that's when you want to subscribe.
I find it a bit cringeworthy myself.
Finally release something
as well. We've got to find a way to say it that isn't cringeworthy. Well, maybe we do it. I haven't found it yet, but we'll find it. But we do get quite a bit of comments on most recent videos as well, so they help with the algorithm, and they just help anyways, because a big part of this is to generate discussion and back and forth and getting opinions and having conversations about stuff.
Yeah, we're only really doing it because we think people want to hear it, right? And just to try and help people out with, getting better at the game in general. So, if we don't know people want to do it, we don't really have motivation to do it.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. We'll find a way to put all of this in. Probably we should have said it closer to the start than 5 hours in. There's probably more people
if
listening.
they stay to the end, they definitely, that's when they should be subscribing.
Yeah,
if you didn't start at the start, you don't need to subscribe.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. So if you're still here 5 hours in, subscribe. And what do they say? Click the bell or whatever it is, so you get. Otherwise, you don't get notifications anyway. So it's like you subscribe, but it doesn't even do anything because you don't get notified unless you. Is that right?
I've literally never clicked the bell on anything.
Well,
but I always
don't tell everyone that. We wanted to click the bell. I think. Does the bell even exist, or am I just making stuff up? Anyways, all right. If you see a bell and you want to click it, then click it. See what it does. Let us know. I think it means you get notified when we release a video. Otherwise,
because there's like the notifications in the top right that I never look at.
Otherwise, you just beholden to the algorithm.
I open my subscriptions and look for everything that's been released from everybody I sub to. That's how I do it.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I watch literally everything.
All right, well, hit the bell or don't hit the bell, but at least subscribe if you got 5 hours in. Surely. All right.
Only if you enjoyed it though, and want more.
Yeah, otherwise, I don't know what you're still doing here if you didn't enjoy it after 5 hours. All right. It's like,
hate watching.
you got too much spare time on your hand if you're still listening to us go on after 5 hours and you didn't even enjoy it. So, all right. We'll leave it at that. And
that's what you call a clean, efficient sign-off.
Yeah, exactly. That's classic.
Long 10-minute ramble.
Yeah. Hopefully couple weeks after this one comes out, we'll have the next episode, but maybe it won't be. We'll see. So obviously, it's not the easiest thing to coordinate a nice little 5 hour gap to have a chat.
Yeah, carving out a whole night.
So, but hopefully, at some point, it shouldn't be ages anyway. We'll get there. So, I think it's a very good series to commit to and give a lot of information about. So. Committed to this one. All right. Until next time.
Bye, everybody.
See ya, everyone, and thanks again. Cheers. So we'll wrap it up here. Apologies if the end of this video isn't entirely congruent with the format of the series so far. We originally recorded these first 5 episodes in a single sitting with the intent that it would be released as a single episode, but it ran for over 5 hours, and it was pretty obvious that it needed to be broken up into a series of shorter episodes instead. We've also since realised that even if we only rate the exceptional cards from the 2 sealed pools and the 2 drafts, it'll end up being nearly all of the exceptional cards in the set anyway. and those ratings will be jumbled all over the place in a way that doesn't really make sense if someone was interested in that information. So instead we'll continue in the next episodes with rating all of the exceptional cards in the Arthurian Legend set. So in the next episode we'll be looking at the exceptional Earth spellbook cards. So until then, keep safe, keep well, and keep enjoying your sorcery. Cheers.